you can see like the music scene and movies and stuff, how much do you think it plays into the misogyny and stuff like that in schools and all of that, the actual way that men carry themselves or think what rights they have over women or they don't? Do you think there's a correlation between the
100%. Even
music
in
and the media, etc.?
100%. In the Disney movies that they used to make us watch when we was kids, it's all
I
nonsense.
watch
What's
it,
Beauty and the Beast?
the
Who's the Beast?
The whole Pinocchio
Who's
thing
the
as
Beast?
well.
Yeah, like when you actually go back and
Nah,
watch
bro,
these
it's
things,
yeah,
you
man.
think,
Why
what
does
the
Snow White
hell?
have
Like,
7 men living
who's
in her
this?
house?
What
Like,
type
it's
of
not
conditioning
cool.
is this?
Yeah, yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we like, and that's the thing, what you're saying about social media and stuff like that. We can't rely on these corporations. That's what there are, corporations, to raise your child's like mental conditioning. You know, the
100%.
subconscious mind is developed from when you're born to when you're 7 years old. What your child listens to and hears and takes in during that process will program them for the rest of their lives, and that's done.
That's done,
That's
true.
where they decide what is acceptable and what's not. And we leave a lot of those early years that matter most to corporations. And then we wonder, oh, why is our child moving like this? Even when we're at that stage in parenthood where you're giving them the right tools that they need to survive and stuff like that, but it's just not landing right. But it's because their conditioning, the foundation that's been laid, is all wrong. It's all dysfunctional.
Yeah, because it's difficult. Because I feel like as a community, as a culture, our music and fashion and all of that is very much part and parcel of who we are and how we move. And I feel like how do you separate the two? And like again, I always come back to us being Muslim is that because we were in a sense forced to separate the two. So you go from doing music to it's not allowed in your way of life. Regardless, there's a bag of Muslims that rap and do their thing, but when you're trying to obviously when you're following it how you follow it, all of these things only became something we stopped doing just because we chose that type of life or that way of life. But I feel like, generally speaking, it's very difficult to separate the two. And I feel like you said, there's young girls on TikTok and boys as well, because like these programs and music, whatever, is programming our young men to see women a certain way and for women to see themselves a certain way and to think that these are the roles and this is how it should be and how it shouldn't be. And I feel like as a community, obviously a lot of people say, well, but rock and roll and this and that. There's like no one now starts on pop music, no one starts on blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I always told the man them who used to ride out listening to flipping like KG and JoJo and
But,
Spice Girls.
but also,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
there's also the point to it is this is why is the music from the black community and other ethnic minorities communities, why is the majority of the music that's promoted violent or has
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
lyrics or connotations to it, whereas everything else is pop from every other, it's K-pop, it's this pop, it's
Yeah,
that
yeah,
pop. But
yeah,
you've got your own separate category. There's gangster rap, it's hip hop, it's drill.
yeah.
And the faces of everything of that are black males.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? But they get the most airplay out of anything,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you have one of the smaller target audiences.
yeah. It's difficult.
Generally speaking,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
your target wants to be young black males, 18 to 35.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's got a worldwide appeal.
Of
Do you see what
course.
I'm saying? And that's because of the mass amounts of money it goes into promoting it. And it's like you say with Disney and all of these things.
But what are we gonna do as a community? Say, cool, we get it.
But we have
We're
to
not
make these
gonna
things not cool no more.
Yeah,
It's
not
not
make it
cool
cool.
no more.
That's what
Like,
they're
it-
glorified.
yeah.
Glorified.
But we also glorify it as a community.
Of course.
And we
But we're traumatized to an extent. I feel like as much as a group of people we try to make a change and we try to make
Yeah.
a difference, I feel like there's some type of trauma that always pushes us back. Like I haven't done music for like 10, 12 years, whatever. But even if I hear like a Tupac tune or a Biggie tune, it takes me back.
Back there,
And I have
yeah.
my moments and I start
Yeah.
thinking, rah, when the man then was like blah blah blah, then you snap out and you get to where you need to get to. But I feel like how many people really do that and make that that conscious decision, because it's a conscious one. And if you're not conscious with your thoughts and your actions and how you move, then you're going to end up being a victim to your desires and a victim to the things that's around you. But I feel like as a community, if we're not prepared to separate that, if we're not prepared to say, you know what, that's not cool, like at the same time it's difficult because some of the people that who are making money, like rappers, whether it be Stormzy, Gigs, and these type of people who have actually managed to get themselves out of the hood. Whereas if they weren't doing that, they would have been doing this. I get it. I get the fact that you no longer have to sell drugs. You no longer have to bang on the streets. Blah blah blah. You can buy your mum a house. You are legally paying your taxes and living a legal lifestyle by being a musician and an artist. But at what extent to our community? Do you know what I mean? And like like what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, how do you make people
Right, accountable. When do we start
accountability.
holding our artists accountable and saying that, look, we love the fact that you've made a success for yourself, but you can't keep on pushing and peddling this nonsense to our young people.
It's also what you take from it as well, because I remember we was talking about it the other day. I think we were talking about it yesterday, and when we was having one of our meetings, like Beyonce out there singing All My Single Ladies, and girls are dancing around. Yeah, Beyonce's not.
She's
single.
married.
That's what I said. So
married,
much.
happy,
She's
living,
married,
chilling,
happy.
living life. Like it's also what we take from it.
100%.
I think, Meg, that's like you guys got to deal with you guys, and we
Yeah.
got to hold like the girls accountable. Do you get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
we
it
can't
is.
merge the two.
No, you
A
can't.
lot of like girls over sexualize themselves, and that's
Yeah.
being accepted because that's what we're trickling down. That's our
Yeah.
trauma that we're trickling down to
Yeah,
girls.
yeah,
Do you get what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying? Whereas I feel like with guys, you guys have normalized like these traumatic experiences, and then you've labeled them like a gangster's lifestyle,
Yeah.
and that's now what's trickled down to younger boys.
Yeah, it's
And that's what
difficult.
they're
100%.
attracted to.
And I think in that part of it, they're leaving out the trauma part. As in, they're glorifying it as a fact, but you're not talking about how you feel when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Or how you really feel when one of the man them died or someone else. And there's something I was thinking last night, like, where we grow up, it's like someone can get shot dead and someone could die of cancer, and you're more shocked that the person died of cancer. You're like, right, what, they died of cancer? Like,
That's
or
true,
the man them got shot.
Yeah,
Do
man,
you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that is it's scary when
Yeah,
you
of
think
course
of
it
it.
is.
It's a scary
Of course it
thought.
is.
So,
Of course it is. We've normalised a lot of, and that's again because I think that's social media and sharing a lot of things, and we're just used to sharing the death of young black men and black men in general. I don't feel like the media like to share the death of white people to any extent. When was the last time you saw just you don't see those type of videos because they know that the more you normalize it to a group of people, then the more that they'll think it's acceptable for it to happen, and that's
But
why.
do you know what frustrates me with like the black community and stuff? Yeah, is like we find identity in a lot of these things. Do you
Yeah,
get what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like that knife crime stuff is not even for us.
No.
When you look at the numbers and the statistics, these
not
things
for us.
happen in white communities more than
Much
they have.
more,
But why have
100%.
we accepted it as our identity? Why are we
Yeah.
even claiming this narrative?
Yeah.
And we claim a lot of narratives that are not ours to hold. Do you get what I'm saying? And we just
100%.
got to return to sender.
I think a lot of people, they're more comfortable living as a
100%.
stereotype rather than walking out in
Yeah.
their own shoes. I think it's easier, like, when I used to do the youth work, I used to say to young people, how is it you're intimidated walking into a job interview, but you can go country with a Z stuffed up your ass and you feel no way about it. You can get stopped and you're calm, you're collected. It's the truth though. It's the
we're
absolute
child
truth. But you
soldiers,
walk
I tell you
into,
the time.
you put some of these young people in a room with a man in a suit and they shit themselves, they're just locked down, they can't speak because they don't feel like they belong.
Yeah, of course. But like I said, I feel like I get it as much as like I seen that we've been able to make the transition, but I've only seen that because something gave us structure. We got a book that said you live your life like that, you do this is allowed, that's not allowed, that's how you move. Like in Islam, down to what side of the bed you sleep on. Do you sleep on your right? Do you sleep on the left? Like it's very detailed. Down to all of that stuff, I'm saying, like how to eat, what to eat first, how much to drink. Our way of life is so detailed, and I feel like you said, when you come from a place of confusion and no direction and you're just freestyling, once you get stability and things that are telling you how to move, because look, when we was in, to an extent, the gangs that we grew up in and the mandem that we had a little code in it. This is how you move, you see the ops, you ride, you do that, blah, 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 you don't snitch. There was a code of life to an extent that we kind of got used to, and that became our world. And that's what we live by. So for us to leave that, we need something different to kind of replace that. We can't just go from that brotherhood, that way of life, into just walking away. Like, how does a young person walk away from that and find himself in a big wide world on his own without knowing what to do? And I just feel like we got something that just replaced that fully and allowed us to kind of take on a new way of life, a new way of thinking.
I think it was
and a
unique
new
for
way of
us
doing
because
stuff.
there were so many of us from the same background that came at the same time, that were on the same thing. Everyone more or less wanted to leave the road. Everyone wanted to try and do things. People wanted to settle down, to have kids, to get married, to stop getting shot at, to stop getting stabbed.
Yeah.
All of these things, when you've got a mass amount of people willing to make a change at the same time, it makes it easier.
Yeah, that's
You know
how I
what I
feel
mean?
So
today.
do you lot, in terms of the young boys, do you think they love it? This generation, do you think they love it, or do you think that they genuinely want a way out?
I feel like.
I think they love it. I'll be
I
honest.
think they love it as well.
They
This
love
generation,
the
I think,
yeah.
is
The, I
like
think
my
they,
thing is this.
and when I say this generation, I'm talking about 11 to 16. I'm
Yeah,
not even
that's-
talking
But
about
to
older
what
than that.
extent? But I think to myself, look, you love something, but to what extent? What extent do you end up being in a room? Because like I feel like when people are on your own and you're in isolation, you have time to contemplate, and it's over a period of time, you get to really check how you're living and what you're on. And I feel like a lot of us go through phases that once you hit a certain age, it's gone. Like man's not banging forever, but I feel like sadly you don't get to that age. And I feel like a lot of other communities get to be goths for 3-4 years and then bang, they're back again. They're not goths no more. They're living a normal life. Whereas we get to be gangsters and whatever, and the trauma we have to carry with us, but we might not get through to the other side. A lot of the young men who are banging now, trust me, when they hit 30s and blah blah, they're gonna look back and say, "Well, we were nuts. This new generation's gone mad as well."
Yeah, but the thing
I
is,
feel
most
like-
of them now, you see a lot of them. It's like they're trying to speak their death into existence. That's how it seems to me.
But I don't
And-
even understand the new generation. I
Yeah,
mean,
that-
like
but
their
that's what I'm
language.
saying.
Like,
I'm
but I don't understand.
I know,
Like they
I know.
talk, you're like,
Yeah.
what's
But
going
it's
on?
different for us.
It's
It's like a lot of these young people put their selves into a situation where they know death is very close. Whereas for us, we're not just walking into something blind. You think you're going to go into a rave when you're off ends and you know certain people are there and you've got nothing on you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? These dudes go out into places automatically to get into an altercation just to see the outcome,
Nothing
so one
serious.
can
I
brag
think it's
over the
gotten
other.
really reckless with the new generation, just in terms of now they don't even care how old you are.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I know a lot of the older generation, they had respect for their elders.
Yeah.
So it was always like, even if mums came through, it was like, oh, that's mum's.
Yeah, that we was-
Like
that
everyone
was that.
moved.
It's
Like
gone.
Yeah,
that's
that was
it's gone. Like it's completely gone. But who's to blame? Is it the people who set the trend in the first place, or is it the ones for continuing it?
Well, you've got
Because things are gonna get worse.
yeah. For even for us, you have to look back and you take a part of the blame.
Yeah.
You have to,
Mm,
because if
yeah.
you don't take that, like I said earlier, you don't have accountability. Even us at this age, we've been Muslim 15, 16, we still got a part to play in it. Because there was those who were 3-4 years younger than us that might have passed away or still on that path. We had a hand in it. Do you see what I'm saying? So it is about taking accountability, and like you say, men have to take accountability in teaching certain things to young men, because a lot of young men, they won't take the advice from women because they've been conditioned not to.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you see when it's a lose-lose situation if you're a woman, you're trying to talk to a man that blank thinks, I don't need to listen to you, plus he's disrespectful. So how are you supposed to make him understand certain things of what's not acceptable and not? That can only come from men, especially if you've
Yeah.
got sons.
And I personally feel like a lot of men don't hold a lot of other men accountable as
Yeah,
well. Like a lot
yeah,
of men know your
100%.
friends are rapists. Know your
100%.
friends are up to no good. But you don't talk
100%.
about it.
Yeah,
You
this
know
is-
that
that's
they're trying
100%.
to make girls do all kinds of stuff, and they're not holding themselves accountable. So we can scream as much as women, and we just look like that nagging voice
Yeah.
that we've always looked like.
100%. 100%. I think accountability from your peers and people in your age group, or just whatever, like men in general, it has to come to. We just have to do more to talk about it and more to just be on it and just be up close and personal. That's why I say that for me, anytime I get any girl, any woman that messages me through our community, that Muslims, because we've done the roadside to Islam, we've done a lot of mentoring for young people. I always just say, look, if something's happened, they've broken the law, I just tell them, call the police. Because first and foremost, me as a person, even if it's someone that I know, if it's that real, call the police and then let them go through that system. But again, something you mentioned before is that the police process itself sometimes can be more daunting than the traumatic.
I mean, in terms of, I know that from obviously doing research and speaking to a lot of young girls that, yeah, in terms of rape, but in terms of like even just getting grabbed and stuff, because I myself was coming home late one night from work. I must have been about 21, so a good couple years ago. And I just come around my square and I walked home from Oval. I don't know if anyone obviously knows Oval, but I walked home from Oval and I got to Oval and I was like, okay, cool. Do I jump the bus 2 stops or do I just walk it? So you know what, quickly, let me just walk it because I ain't hanging around on the bus stop. It's not safe. And then the minute I got into my actual area, I was like, oh, thank you God for getting me home safely. Because for me, I'm like, cool, I'm home safe now, like, because that's my area. But then the minute I come around the corner, this man, like, he just looked me dead in the eyes and I was like, cool, he's gonna attack me. I knew it. I could see it on his face. And he grabbed me, started dragging me down the road, and I was just like, what is going on here? Like I
Imagine
froze for a
that.
couple seconds, and I'd lost my voice from the night before from going out with friends, so I couldn't actually even scream.
Imagine
And then
that.
something said to me, nah, this not happening to me. So I started fighting the man, started hitting him with my umbrella. Then I managed to get away, but then he got me again. So he was like, no, you're coming with me. Like, and I was just like, no, what is going on? So I started fighting him again. And I managed to get off him, like, and then it's not funny, but and then I start running, and then I was like, oh no, wait, he's gonna see where I'm going, so let me slow down, let me look back, like let me be vigilant, even though I'm shook.
Yeah.
So let me be vigilant what's going on. And I look back and I realized, okay, cool, he's gone now. So I ran into my house, and then I got in my door and I was like, swear down that just happened. And then obviously it was early hours of the morning, so my mum was asleep. So then I woke her up, and she was like, what went on? And I told her. She's like, cool, you need to call the police. I called the police. They spoke to me for about 20 minutes. Not even that. They took my jacket. All now, my jacket hasn't been returned.
Look at that.
Like, that was it. There was like, no, nothing we can do. Like, they don't do much. Like, they like to go check CCTV for like young boys and following them and doing all this stuff. But when those things happen, it's like, I'm sure my
Not
area's
much
got
resources.
cameras. I'm sure this has got cameras. Where's all these?
Yeah, that's what someone
Start
said.
I
I
find Saddam Hussein in
Do
that
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But
So
they
they
already
choose.
found people during the riots as well.
Exactly. That's my point. Like they choose. So even if you do call the police,
Yeah,
it's like they
true.
choose to what they want to take
Yeah.
seriously.
That's what someone said. Like, police don't prevent crime; they just deal with the aftermath. Like,
Yeah.
they're not here to
They're there for
prevent crime.
decoration, man.
Yeah, they don't like anything.
That's
They
it.
don't prevent the
That's
crime.
how-
I want
is
to
it?
touch on what she said, in
Yeah.
terms of like how you could also teach kids how to be prepared for these type of things, trauma responses. So it's like we can talk about the theories and the psychology all
Yeah.
we want. How your child is going to react in that moment, you got to train them
Whether
for
it's a
that
fight
moment.
or
Do you get what
flight,
I'm saying?
really.
Fight, flight, freeze. Apply pressure to your
Yeah,
child. Like, let them know what it's like in the real world.
Yeah.
Because we like to cuddle things and like protect them from situations, but that's
100%.
doing a disservice. Sometimes you got to throw them in a deep end and see what type of child do I have. Do you sink or swim? And then you work with the qualities that they already have and just teach them how to survive.
100%. Remember that thing that we see with, who was it, that comedian that was saying, like, no one cares about you outside this house. That you sent me. Was it you that sent me that?
I can't remember.
Dave Chappelle, or was it Chris Rock, Chris Tucker? Like, he was telling these kids basically, like, outside these four walls, no one cares
cares,
about you.
yeah.
Like, you're rubbish. Like, oh, you see everyone that you're looking at, we care. And then he was like, and even in this house, some people they don't care. And I was just looking at my girls the other day, and I was just giving them the same talk. And that's why I was just laughed when you said that, because I was blasting my daughter, saying, "Listen, no one cares. It's just me, you know." But sometimes you got to have these conversations, because in reality, like you said, you got to apply that pressure.
Yeah.
You got to be kind of just let them know and to get them used to being in that type of space. So what you think about, because obviously growing up, a lot of the time people never taught their girls, especially things like martial arts, jiu-jitsu and things like that. How important are these type of things for us as a community to kind of, or especially to teach your young
They're
girls?
very
and put
important.
them-
Very
Like,
important.
even if it's not martial arts and stuff like that. Like, when I would come home and I'd be crying, I'd be feeling sad about. My mom would be like, "Get out there. Don't come in here and cry.
Yeah.
Come back with your bike. Come back with your stuff. I don't want to
Yeah,
hear it."
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So it's like there's other ways of like just stop. There's other ways, even if you're not going to send them to martial arts
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to self-defense classes and stuff like that, of installing like those
Yeah.
principles.
It's installing self-belief to a
Yeah.
certain degree and confidence that, okay, that can happen. I'm still going to be here when you come home. Like,
Exactly.
there's not a judgment thing here, but I want you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, because I think a lot of parents, they sweep the legs from under their
Yeah,
children.
that's another thing. I
You
wanted
take
to
away
add,
that
that's
independence of thought and of the actual learning. Like I said, we were tougher. We used to run, climb trees, roll in mud, all of the kids are protected from all of this. You're on tablets, like kids, I'd say they're soft now. Like
They
very sensitive to everything.
Mm.
So like physical activity, it's gone down.
They don't
Like,
want to do it. I
they
mean, I
don't
work in a
wanna do
school
it.
doing PE. I'm like, are you lost for real? I don't understand.
Yeah,
This was like my
strange.
favourite subject, to run around and
Yeah,
just,
we had those
you
things
know
that
what I
come
mean?
off the wall. Remember they used to come
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the
yeah.
wall.
my
remember
favourite,
that.
you know what I'm saying? The
and
favourite
the
part of
ropes
it.
and yeah, of course.
And they just, they're just.
But I was
over
gonna
it
say,
now.
like, how important is that first? Because another thing that happens a lot of the time that I get from young girls or anyone that mentions me is that I feel like a lot of the trauma starts is from that point of no one believes them, or no one actually believes that you've been through. Like, how important is that you know, when you confide in someone, when something's happened to you, how important is it that the person confides in the right person,
the
or
initial,
the person,
the first response.
yeah, that initial response? How, because I feel like from that initial response, a person goes down a particular road.
100%.
Yeah.
And what would you?
I think that's kind of what I meant by in terms of a community, because sometimes, like a lot of the girls we've spoken to, they told different parents, mums and dads,
Yeah.
and both parents didn't believe them. Both parents said they were lying. One girl we spoke to, her dad got on a plane to his country and never came back. He was
Imagine
like,
that.
you're a liar.
Imagine
Like,
that.
do you know what I'm saying?
So-
So if she had somebody, which luckily for in her case, she had her mum that she could tell who believed her and then was able to take it further.
Yeah.
Not everybody has somebody that's going to believe them, and it's not necessarily going to be the parent, even if you tell someone in school. But then again, you know what, it's very tricky.
Because that's
then,
something that we
It
spoke
is.
about on the podcast today, because they said, what happens when that perpetrator is someone in the household? Where does the victim go then? Who do you talk to when the person that done it is your brother, it's your dad, it's your mom? Where does it go? Because again, I'm thinking like that initial response of that first person that you tell, I feel like from what I've seen, it can take a person down two different ways in terms of dealing with what's actually took place and what's happened to them. So I'm just thinking like, obviously we can always, from a male perspective, it's quite different. We're just hearing stuff, but from you lot's
It's the difference
perspective,
between
how...
suppression and expression after the fact, isn't it? It's like whether you're gonna continue telling your story or whether you're gonna have another traumatic experience 20 years down the line, and suddenly you remember, oh, this actually happened to me when I was young, or smell triggers it, or
Exactly, yeah.
anything it can
And
be
that's
that triggers it, and
real.
you start to realize like, wow, what that actually did happen
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you know what I mean?
And the more informed they get as a victim, the more informed you get and you grow and stuff like that, you actually start to realise what happened to me wasn't normal. Okay, so if that wasn't normal, then what did happen to me? And they have to, it can take a long time
Take
for them to
ownership of-
process that and actually understand that, okay, what happened to me was wrong and I need to speak about it, or I need to, and what I think we have to understand about trauma as well, there's no solutions. You just got to learn how to live with it. That's what it is. So
it's
just
difficult.
providing safe spaces for people to speak freely, just allowing people to be themselves around you and be open and transparent is the best way to go.
And it's being aware of it, like
Yeah.
she was saying, because a lot of young girls and possibly young guys, but I know obviously work with young girls that we know, they don't recognize that they're behaving like this because of that. So when they start knowing their story and being like, oh, rah, that happened to me. So, okay, cool. So now I understand why I do this. Now I understand why I go and do that.
Then it can become
And
a
then,
choice if they
yeah,
still want to be
now
that person
now
or not.
you're aware, now you're informed on your own traumas. You can start saying, okay, cool, I'm going to make the choice, like you said, whether I'm going to choose to do that again.
Whether
But
I'm
'cause
gonna
now
live
I'm
off, I'm gonna make decisions based on my trauma or based on what I want for me as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, now going forward, because now you're
But a lot of it's
you're aware
autopilot.
of it.
A lot of people make
Yeah.
choices based on autopilot. They don't even understand their conditioning or
Yeah,
how
of
they
course,
come to.
100%.
And that's especially when you've been interrupted with trauma. At what age it distorts the way your brain can process information, the way it can process relationships. It interrupts everything, and it can even pause the development right there. So you could operate, if you was molested at 6 years old and then you go on in life, you can still operate like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Emotionally, you haven't been able to move
Move
past that
point.
experience.
We were
Yeah,
saying that
yeah,
with
yeah.
some of the guys that we know who spent long time in prison and stuff. You're stuck at that development point in your
Yeah.
mind. Like you go to jail at 13, you come out at 23, you're still 13.
Yeah.
Because socially, how you develop and stuff it's been stunted. Like your
100%.
mind has not been able to take in information and process stuff that everything is going on the outside. Is very close quarters with other guys who are in the same mental state as you. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, that's an interesting
it's the
point.
exact
It's-
same thing.
For as females, how do you feel about women who kind of just lie about being sexually assaulted and the type of effect that has on the community? Because recently I see someone, I think that the brother took his own life because someone said that he sexually assaulted him, and then when he took his life, she come out and said, well, I didn't mean physically, I just meant because I think basically he put his story out that he was abused when he was younger, and then someone put out, well, who cares about your story, you abused me. Then he was like, hold on, I haven't abused no one. And then he kept on saying like, and it was anonymous, you know, these anonymous things. So he kept on saying like, if I abused you, message me, I apologize. Like I think he was coming from the angle, if I put anyone through what I went through, I never intended that. And it got to the point where he couldn't live knowing
I
that
think it got to a
someone
point for him, he didn't really know what was reality and what's not.
And he
Because he's
couldn't-
thinking, did I actually do
did
that
I actually do it,
unknowingly?
and he was thinking how I feel about being abused.
If I've done that to
if I've done
someone
that
else,
to someone
then-
else, I can't live with myself. So then he takes his life. Then the girl
that's
gets
sad story,
exposed
man.
to who she was. Then she comes out and like, it wasn't. I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like. Then she just come off social media.
Like
and
what? How did
disappeared.
she mean it?
This is what I'm trying to say. So I feel like recently a lot of people, or there was like a list that came out. Ali, you sent me some list, and there was like a load of people on it, and people saying anonymous again, saying that these guys are predators, different artists, and blah blah blah.
It's a middle list. It's a middle list.
You know, I'm watching the archive. That's it. You're one of them. You're people. I just send them anything. I don't know if it's true.
Is
But
it?
a big list of
how hard
artists
is
and
it, do you think, for people to come out and just be honest about what they've been through as their self rather than as opposed to anonymous? Because it's not easy for anyone, and I think we have to take
That's
into
hard,
account,
man.
like you said, with the police aspect, the judgment aspect. Maybe people's family don't understand. Maybe it's a family member. How difficult it is to come out with your real face and say, do you know what, this is what I've been through. I'm gonna own it, but this person needs to be held accountable.
Mate, when I did my BBC documentary, my own mum was the first one that made the Facebook page to say she's a liar, this is not what happened, this is blah, blah, blah. So it's very hard to be able to like step out, especially when you grow up like with no validation. Nobody don't validate your experiences, your truth, your story, or nothing. There's nothing. Because especially when you come from broken homes, like everyone's been through it. Do you get what I'm saying? So like I would have an experience, whatever. My mum's like, so is that what you're crying about? Do you know what I've been through?
Yeah.
Do you know what do you get what I'm saying?
Struggle
So
Olympics, that's what
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's so many layers to trauma because we have our own traumatic
100%.
experiences. Then we have the generational trauma and the layers that come with that. But 100%, it is very hard with the girls that we work with for them to be able to put their face to their story, their name to that story. It's like it's a process.
Yeah, because I was thinking like in terms of how I think it becomes so much more difficult when there's people out there lying about experiences, trying to just, you know, get exposure or just to be the center of attention at a point. I feel like I don't know how other women can go about putting more pressure or just, I don't know, it's just like men kind of putting more pressure on men that we know are treating girls a certain way, because most of the men that we look back at that we used to say, yeah, them man, they are gallus, them man, they were just basically terrorizing girls. You know what I'm saying? And man just used to call them this and that, and really like man had words to like glorify their rubbish.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And in reality, it was something else. And I feel like on the flip side, in terms of the amount of girls that also come out and make it more difficult for other girls to come out because you come out and you lied. Now I come out and tell the truth. Like, how are people gonna take on what I'm saying? Is it? But
this
how do we
coming
deal
out
with that?
stuff, like it's not public, and I don't understand like it depends as well. We have to look at the intention. Why are you telling, like, what are you coming out to do with this
100%.
What are
story?
you trying to achieve?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is
That's
it that you're
what we
trying
were
to gain
discussing.
from it? Like I feel like we have to assess the situation properly, but I work with girls in care, right? So
Okay.
sometimes I could be at the house and a girl comes in, she has an experience and she feels like she's been sexually assaulted or whatever. I have to sit down with her and she needs to walk me through all the steps, because what she might interpret as sexual assault might not actually be the facts, the
Yeah.
case. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because obviously we're women, we're emotional and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The way we interpret a lot of things is not even the reality of what actually happened.
Yeah.
So I think we have to also be patient with each other as women and have the conversation of like, well, what actually happened here, and walk with them through the experience and say, well, that's not really rape, you know, or that's not really molestation. You know, if you didn't feel comfortable in that moment, these are other ways you can handle that type of situation. But that's where mums need to understand, because from a lot of like parental structures, they expect like the man to have that sexual conversation with the child and stuff like that. But this is where I feel like the woman's voice is most prominent, because the woman has to also help the girl child understand that, you know, you have power. You need to
100%.
know how to
100%.
move in certain situations. You need to know if you're uncomfortable in a situation, leave immediately. You don't wait to see what's going to happen. I think, yeah, there's multiple ways that you can handle that. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know, you know. I feel like that's so tricky. It's
It
proper,
is.
I feel like it's a really tricky subject, because it's how do you depict who's lying?
Yeah, it's
And you
difficult.
You can't, because
But
you
it's
can't turn
like
around and
as
say
well-
someone you're a liar and she's genuinely been through it. Like it's
It's
too
the whole
too
thing with
tricky.
social media again, isn't it? It's like you can put anything you want on social media with the least amount of accountability.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is massively important like, what do you want to achieve at the end of it? Do you want an apology? Like, I've seen some of the girls, like, from that list, they just asked for an apology, and that was that. As far as they're educating the person who grabbed their bum or whatever they didn't feel comfortable with, they just wanted to educate the person, like, this ain't cool. However you've been brought up or whatever structures are in place to make you think that's cool, it's not. I want an apology, and I'm educating you on the fact now. And then others are, I want apologies, and then after the apologies come, that's not good enough, I want this, I want... So it makes people difficult to discern what you're trying to achieve, and I think that can take away from your story if you don't come out first time and say what you want. But again, coming out on social media is difficult.
It is.
Because you could say one thing and it's interpreted a million different ways.
Exactly.
So
There's
someone
another
can witness a
thing-
shooting, you've got 10 eyewitnesses, everyone's account would be different because everyone deals with trauma different and sees it differently. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, 100%. But there's also another thing in terms of like how young girls dress up. And a lot of the time you see conversations where people say, well, they should be able to dress however they want, and the man should be able to like control
a
himself.
mother
or
shouldn't be
whatever,
dressing her
whatever.
daughter
So
like herself.
a lot of the time we have this conversation.
In
and
my-
we
do
see-
that's
think
my
it-
opinion.
that's
I do
Yeah.
think it depends on age, of course, like you said.
Age
the mother,
appropriate.
yeah, it should be age appropriate. And then it's like, even sometimes it depends on like the way a girl is built as well. Do you get what I'm saying? Because sometimes some girls are built a type of way. Because me, I can't go and wear certain clothes that other girls that are not built like me. Do you get what I'm saying? They can wear it and it's not going to show certain body
Yeah.
parts, but it's like, oh, but I want to wear that.
Yeah,
but
I'm with you.
for me, it's going to look a bit different. It's going to hug a bit tighter.
Yeah.
So that means I'm drawing, that means I want attention. No, that's just how I'm built.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
So some people put emphasis on the men to say that women should be able to dress how they want, look how they want, and the emphasis should be on the men to say that if a man thinks or sexualizes or anything like that, then he has the issue. And then we come to this point where we talk about in terms of age of consent around the world, and we find that in different, like example, you'll find that in certain countries in Europe, the youngest age of consent could be like as young as 14, and then you get to other parts
In
of the
Brazil,
world
if
when
I'm
it's
not mistaken, it's legal to marry at 14.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Certain parts of America is legal to
Yeah,
marry at 30,
yeah.
12, innit? So you feel to yourself, we look at a global world that has different opinions in terms of consent and age structure in terms of, you know, what age is a girl, you know, accountable for her consent to have, you know, to have sex or to have any type of relations, and we find that the world's not in agreement. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the reality, where do we stand with that? As Muslims, we have a different in terms of our coverage. You see women wear hijab, some cover their face top to bottom. People say it's extreme, it's this, that's another conversation. But there's a lot of emphasis on talk in terms of, in Islam, in terms of, you know, the beautification of a woman and how important it is and how dear it is. And, you know, but obviously when you follow a certain way of life, you're always going to be able to understand it and have your point of view. You know what I'm saying? And then when you're not, then there's always going to be differences. But I just feel like, where is that barrier? Because you always find people be like, if like you'll see things like a girl, what I think is dressed inappropriate, and people say if your man thinks she looks a certain way, then there's something wrong with your man. What do you think about things like that? Because it's difficult, but I
Yeah,
just
it's
feel like,
it's
where do
difficult.
you draw the line in terms of? Because I feel like,
Yeah, but do you mean like, say, okay, alright, cool, say
for example,
if a man moved into the house where your daughter
And,
lives and your daughter's wearing booty shorts and a vest top, is that appropriate? I don't think it
But
is.
some people think it is. This is what I'm trying to say. So example,
So is that the man's fault or is it the do you see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
the difficulty.
But
But
these are a lot of the conversations we see because, example, some man's dating someone, she's got a 15, 16-year-old daughter that's very developed, like you said, very well built, etc., blah, blah, and she's walking the house anyhow, and then come down the line, they realise relations took place and blah, blah, whatever might be happened. So, like, where are we with these things? It's like, are we in a society that's sexualising, you know, everything, like girls at every point that they get, and we have to do a lot more teaching and also as parents be a lot more clued up in what we allow our children to buy, wear, blah blah blah.
I think I'm just gonna stick to the fact that like this is why I advocate that dads need to stay in their own house, because I feel like when you're a man and you have your house and whatever, it's like whatever law is outside there is whatever. Do you get what I'm saying? But no man can tell a man about the law that's gonna be in his house.
Yeah.
And like when men keep leaving their households and whatever, this is where we leave families and girls vulnerable for other guys to come in or for the government to decide what the law of this family is going to be and all those kind of things. So I personally think it's a collective of things, because also, like we spoke about earlier, the retail shops don't necessarily, they're not selling clothes that are not going to sexualize your daughter anyway. So unless she's like us, where we was always in tracksuits, came rolling our hair, like we didn't really care about that type of stuff, then it's going to be quite difficult to contain if your girl wants to express herself through fashion, let's call it that
100%.
to stay safe and stuff.
100%.
But yeah, other than that, I think that's why I would ultimately advocate for men to stay with their families and stay with their women and educate them properly. Because as us as well as girls, yeah, we also have ideas and we have things that we think that we like, that is our own preference, but it's not. It's the peer pressure, it's the conditioning, it's all these things. Do you get what I'm saying? But it's only when a man sits down with us and picks our mind and helps us understand, well, where did that thought come from? Where did you see that? Is that we actually start to G-check ourselves?
To finish off the podcast, what are the messages we can give young men and fatherhood in terms of, just taking it serious in terms of, especially in our community.
What could you advise for something coming from a man's point of view, similar to what you guys do? Is there anything out there already that you know of, or?
There is an organisation that I know called Lads Need Dads, and they're very, I think they're based up north. They do a lot of, what's it called, like when you go residentials and stuff like that. Yeah, they're focused on the practical skills to give boys and stuff like that, whereas we're focused on the emotional skills that we feel like girls need. But in terms of like the message that I would give like men, it will be the same message that I give girls in terms of like, know your worth, like you're valuable to your family needs you, and only if you know the worth and you know how important your contribution is to your family and your community and society, that then I feel like we can start to have honest and transparent conversations. But I feel like a lot of men don't even find themselves valuable. They don't know their own worth.
No, that's something we've been talking about a lot lately, is valuing your own journey as a man. And I think a lot of us dismiss what we achieve. If someone says, "Oh, you done well for something like that," do you know what I mean? Because it's out of our comfort zone, or you don't want to admit like, wow, I've come a long way and I've got a right to be proud of myself. Or 10, 15 years down the line, I didn't see myself sitting in this chair having a conversation with people like yourselves or anything like that.
It's true. Sorry, I feel like as well, it's just, I think just be transparent with your partner, with your children if you have kids, or if you're just getting into something new, be transparent. Don't try to pretend, because in a couple months' time or years' time, there's only so long you can pretend for.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Just don't pretend. Be who you want to be. Be the man that, if you get upset, if you cry over Titanic, you cry over Titanic, innit?
No.
I mean, it's not for some girls, but then if it's not for them, then they're not for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you get what I mean? Just
100%.
Just be transparent.
I wanted to ask a quick question though. What do you say about men, not men, but women that might, because their father's been absent, they feel kind of like a hatred, or to the point that they feel like to disrespect men. Like, for example, say the man has left and the man wants to come back now, he wants to reunite with his daughter, but he can't because...
We talk to so many about
that.
Do you understand the question? Like,
Yeah.
like, the hate is there, like, where were you kind of thing, like, when I needed you the most? Like, how do you, like...
Oh, so wait, from the daughter's perspective or from the
both,
mum's
like,
perspective?
mainly from the daughter, like, you know,
Okay.
because you got the two issues. Either the father's been absent so long that the daughter might yearn for attention, or she's gone the opposite direction, where she start hating the father and the disrespect is there. And
the dad's trying to reach out, but the daughter's not having it.
yeah, or she might
Doesn't
even get with
wanna
a
know.
partner later in life and be like, disrespect her partner because of that. You understand?
I would say be persistent, because obviously when you've learnt to survive without that structure and security for so long, you adopt these masks, you adopt these personas that are not really your true self. Do you get what I'm saying? So for the dad to now come back after all that time, it's going to take a very long time for him to break the layers, like break those barriers, and also to know what did she experience while he was gone, because she might have experienced some madness and you're to blame now. Do you get what I'm saying? Because you were supposed to be her protector. So I would say be persistent, take time, like and humble yourself. Humble yourself, because your daughter's going to teach you how to do that.
Yeah,
That's what I'll say, yeah.
Understand it was your absence, not hers. As well, I think we have to take account for that. I've found myself guilty of it before, when I don't understand why the kids might be acting a certain way, and then I have to check myself, like, I haven't always been there. So there's certain things what we've missed a connection growing up or whatever it is that I'm culpable as well. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Do you get what I mean? It's not. Oh, my kids are acting a certain way, but you have to understand your part in it and run with it and just own it, bro.
Yeah,
There's
just 'cause it'd be small
no
things.
point hiding from it, is
Exactly.
there? Really,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
truly?
Because exactly what I
100%.
was saying to Aaliyah today is the most important thing is the fact that no child asks to be here.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's
No,
it.
not one child
Yeah,
on this
yeah.
earth asks to be
And I
here.
think you like Leah said earlier. Sorry to cut you. And she
No,
said
it's
it's like sometimes it'll be your parents like you should be grateful for X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Like I should be grateful because you fed me,
Yeah.
because you clothed me.
Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean?
I didn't ask to come out of the womb.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
no,
And I
hear
think that's a massive.
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
for a whole nother day. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so to answer that, like he said, like Lee said, you know, we didn't ask to be here. The child didn't ask to be here. So remain persistent. They didn't ask to be born and then, you know, get some kind of relationship or not even one. And then next thing you know, dad's gone. Don't know where you are. Don't know who you are. I'm dealing with this on my own with my mum or with my siblings.
Yeah,
or with
more
friends.
time when the dad leaves as well. The mum becomes a mad woman.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
unstable.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So you have to now not only deal with
Yeah.
your own emotional baggage, you got to deal with this unstable lady.
It's true.
All the
Because
time, every day.
they say
Yeah, yeah.
breaking up with someone is a loss.
Yeah.
Losing somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
Losing
trauma within
losing
itself.
somebody who's
Few
still
people we
alive.
spoke to as well
Indeed.
said I look so much like my dad
Yeah.
that it was a bigger issue because the mum every time she woke up she saw this man who's
Yeah.
cut out and left me with
Exactly.
a child and then the
And
relationship's
sometimes-
just irreparable after that.
And sometimes the kids like, I haven't even seen my man. Who you talking about?
Yeah, or you say
Like,
you're just like your dad. Like
Like,
it
what
happened
do
to
you
me.
mean?
Like you look
Yeah.
just like your dad. I didn't see my dad till I was about 13. You see what I'm saying? So to constantly hear about like I thought he was dead up until I was about 9. I'll be real with you.
Wow.
Do you see what I'm saying? So to constantly
Some
hear
parents
that
say that, to
stuff
be
and
fair.
not know who you're talking about, it knocks
Yeah.
you because you're like, I could have walked past this dude 50 times in the street.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not know.
Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but-
So it does have an effect on you, I think.
It does.
Massively.
It does. I think there's a lot of things that we can take from today. It's myself as well, just in terms of just even the kids, how to deal with them, family, in terms of also educating them, in terms of just there's a lot of things to kind. There's a lot of food for thought, and there's just small things that sometimes you overlook, and even things that you said are like sometimes we think an absence has to be a massive absence, and it doesn't. Sometimes it can be a small one. It could be something that you missed.
Yeah,
It
but
could
don't
be-
don't
you know
That's
what I
what we
mean?
got to explain to our girls
downplay
as
your
well.
traumas, man.
Some of our girls, like, they're like, I feel like I'm daddyless, but my dad was there.
Yeah.
He was present.
Yeah.
We say, if he wasn't emotionally present, you were daddyless.
Yeah,
Do you get what I'm
100%.
saying?
Yeah,
And that's
you
where
can be in the room
with-
but not be present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where when I say to men, like, know your worth is so much more than being a provider, going out,
Yeah,
being a
yeah.
hunter and bringing food back. Like, your worth is so prominent
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
girl's life. I don't think you understand
Yeah.
that
100%.
emotional balance. Do you
Yeah,
get what
yeah.
I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it when we're talking about loss and trauma and stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
I
I
think
feel
we'll
like in
definitely
the
have a
bottom
part
of this
two
vid-
on all of this
yeah,
stuff
100%.
as well.
And in the
It
the
can-
video, we're
it's
gonna
a
leave
lot.
some links at the bottom if any organisations that you know, if people are watching it and they're thinking, cool, we can do with some help in terms of like the young men, the young
Yeah.
women, and stuff like
Or
that.
if you've been
Or
affected
you
by the
wanna
issues
mix.
and you want to reach out to the guys, and there'll be links there, and maybe you can signpost the people to something else as well.
Yeah,
Obviously, comment to your
100%.
pages would be
No.
appreciated.
Yeah, we
Most
appreciate you guys coming down.
Thank
It's
you
been
for
a
having us.
pleasure.
having us.
It's been great. It's our second episode because I was doing a lot of the stuff online. We wanted to get in, but we wanted to what we really want to do is have a conversation. So obviously we get the lads in and we have our bant and talk about issues. But then every other episode we want to get real people in from the community that's really
Yeah.
making a difference and really doing something and really just putting that to the forefront because I feel like as a community we got a lot of healing to do. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of trauma that we have to go through, and sometimes like you said, we belittle our situations and our journeys because sometimes you might deal with someone who's got a load of issues and it looks much worse than yours. So you think my thing is small and you put it to the back of your brain, but in reality, you got to respect, you know, your truth and the things
Give
that you're going
everyone
through.
people who look just like
Yeah,
us
yeah,
and come from the
100%.
same places of opportunity.
Exactly.
It's not just football. It's not just music. There's many ways to make your own path.
And that trauma part that you spoke about in terms of sometimes like if a parent's like you go back and you tell your parent I've been through A, B, and C, and then they're like, well, like I went through worse and stuff like that. We do that in different aspects with the young boys in terms of whether we're telling them like whether they got into a fight or someone tried to get them into a fight and
Yeah,
they didn't want to
yeah,
fight. You're
yeah.
like, is that all that happened to
Yeah.
you? But that
Trivial,
traumatized
isn't it?
him because he's not in that environment. That environment don't exist no more that
Yeah.
you grew up in. You've raised him right. Both his parents have been there. He's never had no one pull up on him and you're trying to tell him like man up, sort out because that's your trauma. That's what you had to go through.
Yeah.
Your son doesn't have to go through that. You don't have to just brush it off like it's a small incident and nothing really happened. And I think that's something that I took from that, because sometimes we're looking for massive events in our children's life or massive things to take place when sometimes
hero
it's just
complex,
a small
man.
thing. Yeah, 100%. So like
One
I
thing
said,
that our girls like say to us a lot, yeah, they say that the root of where their pain stems from is like grieving people who are still alive. So once your daughter is in that state of mind where she feels like she has to grieve you and mourn you, but you're still like out there living, it's very hard to come back from like those layers of loss and trauma. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, 100%.
So it
That's what affected me with my dad. That after that amount of time, finding out he's alive and then trying to still deal with that till now, that he's not had, he hasn't seen my kids. And do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're trying to deal with a loss of someone that's still alive, but you're treating them as in it's a grief period. It's confusing even for
It
me. I
is.
haven't completely dealt with it. I'm not gonna lie. Do you know what I mean?
deep.
It's not something you can just pick up on and
Switch on and
isolate.
off.
It's
Yeah.
it's proper multi-layered thing where you have to just pick through it.
It's
Yeah.
deep, it's deep. Like I said, thanks for having you guys.
Thanks for
Hopefully we
having
get
me.
you back
Thank
down here and we can just cover some other topics. I'm sure a lot more things are going to happen within the community and this topic specifically. Thanks again.
Thank you.